Hi, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Stanley Davids, and welcome to our Torah studying community. It's great to be with you. I appreciate receiving your emails, your comments, your suggestions. I will take them all very seriously. And please remember, as we go forward, hit share when you're done watching the video. Expand the group engaged in this sacred study. Tomorrow is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. In Israel, it's a time for bonfires and for outdoor camping and for all kinds of special festivities that occur between the beginning of Passover and Shavuot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Today's Sedra and more. The Sedra is one of the very best examples in the entire Torah as to how the 613 mitzvot become the starting point for an expansion of laws and regulations that literally reach to the tens of thousands of mitzvot. 613 in the Torah, and by the time the rabbis are through, and they are not through, tens of thousands more. They do it through rabbinic argumentation and exposition, a process which is called pilpul. Now, the word pilpul means pepper, and it characterizes the sharp rhetoric of rabbinic disputation. By the way, to be called pilpulistic in the 21st century is not necessarily a compliment. But rabbinic Judaism, the Judaism that flourished from the time of the destruction of the Second Temple by Rome until the period of the Enlightenment, rabbinic Judaism was built around pilpul. What you read in the Torah can only be understood and followed by what the rabbis did with those texts over 2,000 years worth of conversation. And today, still, in ultra-Orthodox yeshivot, pilpul is the only approved way to go about things. So, let's ask ourselves some really interesting questions. You won't find many answers today. What should one do if the day after the first day of a major festival, the day after the first day of a major festival, like Passover, is Shabbat? You know, it's forbidden to cook on a festival day for the next day. And you can't cook on Shabbat. So can you have a Shabbat meal? What do? No chont? No chicken or fish or vegetable quiche? That would be a disaster. Rabbinic exposition. Or, can we eat an egg that was laid on Yom Tov that very same Yom Tov day? Not an easy question. Can one cook with a fire on Yom Tov if the fire had been started before the Yom Tov began? Can one specifically ask a Gentile to do work for us on Shabbat, which we are forbidden to perform? Specifically, can we ask a Gentile to do that kind of work? Did you know that a slave owned by a Kohen could eat of the special food for the offerings set aside for the priestly class to eat? The slave could do that. But if someone had been hired by the Kohen to work for him, hire by day or whatever wage, that person could not partake of the sacred meal. Very interesting. Did you know that slavery is permitted in the Torah? Did you know that Kohanim could own slaves? Oh, did you know that the founder of Reform Judaism in America, Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise, was not an outspoken abolitionist? Oh, wait a second. We can't go there. That's irrelevant for today. It's just interesting. Did you know that a Kohen could not serve if he has a physical disability? Blind, deaf, in any way physically handicapped? Even if the Kohen only had eczema, that Kohen could not serve in the sanctuary. Just as a sacrificial animal must be perfect in every way, so the Kohen has to be perfect in every way, and I assume there was no Americans for Disability Act, ADA, at that time. Kohanim must always be honored. We know that. It says in the Torah text, but it expounds upon that in 2,000 years of rabbinic discussion. So, Shabbat morning, Torah service, first Aliyah, Kohen, second Aliyah, Levite, third Aliyah, the Israelites, the rest of the crowd. Now, rare is the Reformed congregation that observes this separation according to priestly Levitical rank. Most of us, almost all of us, don't do it. But the system is there. And then we ask, what happens if on a Shabbat morning there's no Kohen present? What happens if on a Shabbat morning there are 2 or more Kohanim present? How do you do it? And did you know that the great philosopher, Torah scholar, medical doctor, communal leader, scientific researcher, Moses Maimonides, known as Rambam, taught that if the only Kohen available is a total ignoramus, and if in the congregation there is an Israelite who is a Torah scholar, then the Israelite who is a Torah scholar has precedence over the ignoramus Kohen. I really like that. Side note, did you know that a Kohen Gadol may not serve in the sanctuary if it has been more than 30 days since he has had a haircut? As a matter of fact, the rabbis will decide, even though there were no sacrifices any longer, that the Kohen Gadol really should have his haircut every Friday afternoon, each and every weekend. Please note that the rabbis specify that the Kohen Gadol has to have his hair cut. It doesn't require styling. Where do all these rules, sanctions, commandments, criteria come from? They come from places like our text. Emor is rich with them. A constant conversation. Now, these categories are not just abstract and talking about days gone by. God forbid. A Jew who dies must be buried as quickly as possible in our Sedra. But what if she died on a Shabbat or on a festival? When is Shiva if the death occurs the afternoon before Shabbat or the afternoon before a festival day? When does that happen? God forbid 1,000 times. What if a baby dies before he or she has reached 30 days after birth? Should Kaddish be recited and Yortzeit observed? Should a name be given? Should a funeral service be conducted? Should a burial plot in the midst of the Jewish cemetery be selected? Or should that baby be set in the margins? And what about a fetus that dies in utero? What status does that baby have? May the parents say Kaddish. These are nightmares, but nightmares can and do become part of our reality. How do we deal with them? Today we are just seeing what the mechanism really is. Emor overflows with texts that are incomplete, suggestive, elusive. They have needed thousands of years of exposition, but some of them offend our sensibilities and violate the ethical norms by which we guide our lives. Don't ask me to explain on this video how the Torah text today designates what a zona, a harlot, is. It's awful. As a Reformed Jew, I feel committed, privileged to join in that ongoing conversation. Most of the time, I'll nod my head and say, yeah, boy, that's interesting. Quite an insight, okay? But every once in a while, I will find myself slapping my hand on the table and saying, no, that's not right. That's immoral. It may be in the Torah. It may be in the rabbinic literature, but not for me. My friends, these texts are our spiritual heritage, our spiritual birthplaces. We honor them. We study them, even as we continue to look to separate between those that are holy and those that are profane. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for being with us, and don't forget to hit share.